Alrighty, so therapist introduction. So I'm supposed to come here and tell you that mental health is really important. Well, I'm not going to do that today. I'm not here today to talk about why mental health is important. I'm here to talk about why the way in which we understand mental health is incomplete. We live in a day and age where most of us are familiar with Freud, the founder of psychotherapy, and the therapy couch where people go and talk about their lives. By this time, in 2023, we all know it's a much needed profession. We've all seen therapy sessions in movies, cinema, TV, although I could give a completely different TED talk on those. But I'm here today to talk about what do people go to therapy and talk about? Their parents. Problems. No. Problems. They go to therapists and talk about their parents and problems, and sometimes both. So has therapy become this space where we just go and talk about our parents, our past, things that can't really be changed, and continue to stay stuck in those circles? I'm a wife, a daughter, a sister, a cat mom, a voiceover artist, and a therapist. Of all these roles that I really love and enjoy, I love being a therapist because it is my most challenging and most gratifying role. Working with different client populations, a question that always seems to come up is, Jahan Ara, why must we go into the past? Is everything always your parents' fault? सब कुछ मम्मी डैडी की गलती है, क्या कह रहे हैं therapists? I'm here to tell you that there is no one on the planet who understands more that parents do the best they can in the conditions provided to them with the time they have. Our parents did the same, and they continue to do so. But therapy isn't exactly about our parents at all. Your therapist understands why your parents may be the way they are, but they're far more interested in what's sitting across them on the couch. You. Working with different client populations in the US where I trained, and then in Pakistan, I always noticed a stark difference in the way people's parents showed up in therapy. While bringing up your parents in therapy is a really hard task in itself, I noticed when Pakistanis brought it up, it almost felt as if they were telling me the nuclear code to our nuclear program, or that they were confessing to murder. It brought up immense shame, immense guilt, and immense grief. And all of this happened before we got into the session on what the client wanted to talk about. One of the biggest myths about therapy is that all therapists make you want to do is hate your parents and blame them for everything. God, I wish I could do that with some of my clients. But the point is, that's not true. Therapy is a space for your feelings, regardless of who they may be about. When we admit the hurt that exists in different relationships, we don't form weaker relationships, we form stronger ones. For me and you, parent and child, husband to wife, partner to partner, friend to friend, for us to have a strong connection, we need to be able to figure out, acknowledge, name, and talk about the hurt that exists between us. I want to address a certain cultural barrier that makes it very difficult to have good mental health in our land. In our culture, we can often equate disagreement as disrespect, and boundaries as distance. You can have a disagreement with a parent and still be very intelligent. Also, speaking about your feelings doesn't make you an ungrateful person or an ungrateful child. It makes you someone wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard. And that's a basic human need. I remember the first time my therapist told me that remotely suggested the idea that my dad wasn't perfect. I looked at her like she had said the most obnoxious thing on the planet. It was a concept untouched by my mind, unexplored. For weeks after that session, I remained in a mental debating competition with my therapist. You don't know my dad. He is so smart. How dare you? You're probably less educated than my father. You see, she'd caught me naked and vulnerable, and I was just trying to escape. See, I didn't want her to be right. I was doing something I see so many of my clients doing. I was trying to make sense of my pain, rationalizing different people's actions, and trying to make sense of things. Something that happens when we start going to therapy is called a paradigm shift. This means a change in worldview, in the way we see ourselves and our surroundings, our relationships, our parents. And all births are painful births. So was mine. And I needed time to sit with it. One of the most beautiful concepts I learned being in therapy was that intention and action are not the same thing. We can understand someone's intention and yet have every right to be upset at their action. Now in therapy, I often introduce the concept of and. I'm scared and I'm ready. I'm terrified and I love you. I'm really hurt and I still love you. So, what happened after so many years of exploring this hurt and grief? So let's skip ahead. Years later, when I was looking for a therapist myself, and yes, therapists do have therapists too, I reached out to her. I tried to find her. You know, this woman, this therapist who said my father wasn't perfect. That woman was onto something. I found her. Now I do the talking, she listens. But after so many years of exploring the hurt and the grief that existed in my parental relationships, it's only brought me closer to my parents. You see, when I addressed the hurt that existed, it allowed me to connect on an authentic level. There is a common misconception among clients that addressing the grief in parental relationships will lead to distance. And this is absolutely not true. I'm also closer to my parents because the version of me trying to connect to them before didn't know her own emotions and needs. When I connected with myself on an authentic, healthy level, I was able to form those kind of connections with my parents. Minimization of pain has never led to its eradication. कभी आपके साथ ऐसा हुआ है कि आप थेरेपिस्ट के पास पैनिक अटैक्स की कंप्लेंट लेके गए हो और वो आगे से आपकी अम्मी के रिलेशनशिप के बारे में पूछ रहे हैं? A lot of clients will want to work on their present and their future. And while these are great goals, the secret is that the past holds most of the answers. Your past holds the key that unlocks your future. Therapy is not about your parents. Even if you came up to me and you told me, you know, Jahan Ara, I was raised in a jungle by gorillas and I'm Tarzan. First of all, very interesting conversation. Secondly, we'll probably have to look at your relationship with gorillas. आपका बंदरों के साथ relationship देखना पड़ेगा. Because those are the early blueprints for affection, perfectionism, failure, mistakes, love, bonding. So my message to you today will be, your future is only as bright as your awareness of your past. Don't be afraid of your feelings and don't minimize them, because a risk of doing that is we will repeat that in adult relationships. As children, we are vulnerable and weak, and we rely on our parents for a lot of things. So when a child feels anger towards a parent or grief with a parent, where do those angry feelings go? They get dissociated, which means they get buried deep down, only for them to come up later or become a pattern where we do that in adult relationships. It makes it so much safer for me to be in a relationship and never bring up any hurt and grief. It keeps me connected. So don't be afraid of your emotions and watch them give you a really meaningful life. Thank you so much.